Northwest Liberty News, picking the lock on the shackles of tyranny.
Machines are gonna fail, and the system's gonna fail.
The past is past, the future's now.
Don't look at me. I think these people are completely nuts.
Sometimes trouble just follows a man.
There is another organism on this planet that follows the same pattern. Do you know what it is? A virus.
Can't you stop your lips from flapping for 2 little minutes?
It's because I'm white.
I'm a man. I'm sensitive. I need to feel loved. I need to be desired.
I'm rapidly becoming a big underground success in this town.
It's a question of methods. Everybody wants results, but nobody wants to do what they have to do to get them done.
And now, coming to you live from Kalispell, Montana, brought to you by Northwest Liberty News, it's Montana Gazette Radio with your host, James White. So yes, I'm indeed your host, James White. This is Montana Gazette Radio. Thanks so much for joining us here today. Well, what day is it? The 19th day, July 2021. And we do appreciate you being here with us live on the show here, coming to you from Kalispell, Montana. Just a little program note here. They have just started a construction project right directly across the way here from the studio. And this isn't a soundproof studio or anything like that. So dependent upon how much work these fellows decide to do here across the street, it could get a little bit noisy in the background during the show. So far it's okay now, but there's not really much I can do about it currently. But we're just going to continue to press forward and bring you the truth, the best that we can bring it to you. There's a voluminous amount of information that's been coming in to us here at the show, and we're going to try to break some of that down. It's not even close. We're just scratching the surface here today. But before we do, what I would like to do is I would like to ask you, if you support this broadcast and you want to continue to support us, continue to have us come online here and bring you the news on a regular basis, please go to patreon.com/Gideon Knox. That's patreon.com/Gideon Knox. And sign up for one of our programs here, a membership program. You can do it for as little as $9.95 a month, and you get a membership, or I should say, a subscription to the Insurgency email, which is a $7 a month value right there. So you get a lot of good stuff. If you go through here and check these membership levels out, it goes all the way up to and including. You get to go on an exclusive buffalo hunt with J.D. Hall and I, and that's going to be pretty cool. And you can do all that and more if you just go to patreon.com/Gideon Knox and support our new Montana Murder Hornet podcast. That's going to be a patron-only podcast for Montana VIPs. It's going to be J.D. Hall and I are going to be doing the show together. It's going to be different sort of than this. It's not going to look like this. It's going to look a little bit different. At least that's what we're going to try to do. We're going to have guests on, and if we can, of course, like anything else, we're going to, not everybody's available, but we're going to do our best to have the best guests. But of course, we're always going to report the truth. That's not going to change, regardless if we have guests or not. So if you want to check it out, please go to the patreon.com Gideon Knox /Gideon Knox. Or on most all of the articles that we have here published recently, you can go right here to the Montana Murder Hornet podcast and click on that link. If you see this anywhere on any of the articles, click on that and you can jump right over there to the page I was just at. And this is what we're going to be talking about today. This article we published here, I guess almost 2 weeks ago now, July 7th, a couple of weeks ago. A lot has happened since we've published this article. We've had a lot of people reach out to us. We've got people that are going to be coming on the broadcast here. Multiple folks are going to be coming on the broadcast and telling their story of really what appears to be, without a doubt, land theft and worse, really property theft. Theft of assets, what do you want to call it? it appears to be robbery to me and many others that view this. I actually had, and I really should have called David, and I'm sure he would probably come on the show. I could probably actually call him, and he would even come on now. David Howard, who is a former FBI agent, lives here in Montana, senator. He follows the Montana Daily Gazette, and I sent him over because he's a former investigator. Now, the good thing about David Howard is David Howard was involved back in, I don't know how many years ago, but he was involved in bringing down some crooked judges in Chicago. I think there was 28 judges that got indicted, and he and his group helped take down, I think, 18 of those 28. 10 of them snaked away. But 18 did get convicted, if I remember correctly. And David Howard was on the FBI. David Howard was there when that happened, and he certainly is a reputable. He's a reputable voice for sure. I sent him over the information that I had for this particular. I sent him over the information that I had here for this particular case, and I talked to him a couple days ago, and he said, when are the indictments coming? I said, did you think I laid things out properly? There is an investigator. He goes, absolutely. Absolutely. It looks like something's going on. And I would certainly be willing to have David here on the show, and he would certainly say that himself, I'm sure, if I had him on the show. And I just published an article for him on Montana Daily Gazette. As a matter of fact, just published one of his op-eds, and we're always delighted to have David put in material here for the show. He does great work. Okay, so let's talk here about some things. Again, there's so much information that I can't possibly cover it here in one show. That's why there's going to be numerous shows that are going to be broadcast, along with guests that are going to be coming on the show, and we're going to be talking about. But you're going to get real people. You're going to get real folks on the show. In some cases, the widows of folks that on the show, and you're going to hear what they had to say. They have Russ Sherman, as a matter of fact. Russ Sherman's widow is coming on the broadcast. I have to reach out to her today. She has a voluminous amount of information. Folks, it's one of those things that if it happens once, it's a coincidence. What if it happens multiple times, or 8 times, or 10 times? You have to start saying, listen, it's not a coincidence. There's something going on here. Now, some of the things I'm going to cover today are, I was able to speak to District Judge James Manley for about 45 minutes a few days ago. And he sent me over to a attorney that he was working with on the Russ Sherman case. And I was sent over his deposition. And we're going to cover some of the things on District Judge James Manley's deposition here. It's public record. And he also, along with Alan Carver, who I've reported on here in this program, 34 years in the NCUA, reported on here. And let's go here once again and talk about Mr. Carver's report, because what I'm going to talk about when it comes to James Manley, the Honorable James Manley, is going to tie right into the Carver report. And here's the thing, folks. How come has anyone bothered to ask themselves, and people are saying on social media, well, this is just a case of these people not wanting to pay their mortgage. They're just trying to get out of it. They're just trying to, sounds like they had credit problems, and they're, really? Okay, so what we're going to cover here in just a minute, and one of the other things we're going to cover here with documentation, why would Dennis Thornton file his taxes as a theft, a property theft, with the IRS and the Montana Department of Revenue? Why would he? And he used the CPA who has a licensure. They can't file false reports. CPAs can't. They do that stuff, they lose their license, right? They're done. What do you think the penalty is for filing false reports with the IRS on your tax returns and signing it? Think about that for 1 minute before you think, oh, let's throw Dennis Thornton under the bus and he just didn't want to pay his. Well, why? Think about this. You really think Dennis Thornton? And that's the particular case that I zeroed in on first, before all the other things started coming in, before the voluminous amount of other cases and evidence started pouring into the show here. Do you think Dennis Thornton is going to take the scam so far that he's going to file a false report with the IRS and, as you'll see, and file a report with the FBI, who investigated it? If the FBI thought that Dennis Thornton was filing false claims about property theft, they would have arrested Dennis Thornton. If the IRS thought Dennis Thornton was filing false claims about property theft, they would have arrested Dennis Thornton. Lying to the FBI and lying to the IRS? Each one of those probably holds a 5-year felony prison sentence if they wanted to press it. Right? You're going to do that to both the FBI and the IRS. You're going to take the scam that far and risk your own personal freedom and risk being in jail, in federal prison, for filing false claims? Think about that. Just use your, take away get your political viewpoint out of the way here. Right? Just think logically for a second, if you can. Would you do that? Would you pull a scam so far as that you would try to defraud the IRS and try to defraud the FBI, both? No, you wouldn't do it. Who would? Who in their right mind would do that and put that forward? No one would. It's preposterous to think that they would. And we're going to cover that. We're going to cover that and more. I mean, just use your sense, use your logical sense. It just doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense. At any rate, let's take a look at this. We'll look at the Carver report, which I published before on this article here. I probably should say, if you want to go to find out where I'm looking at, if you watch this after, you can go to MontanaDailyGazette.com and just type in credit union. See the circle up here? If you just type in credit union, the little magnifying glass, type in credit union and hit search, and it'll bring up the one or two articles, I believe, that we published on that. This, I think, will be here for sure. Breaking evidence shows largest Montana credit union stole $500 million in assets. Okay, so let's scroll down here to, and this is important because we're going to be bringing Judge Manley's testimony in here just in a moment. And this is worth reading one more time. These are the call reports, Alan Carver. The call report showed that Whitefish Credit Union engaged in potentially high-risk member business loan activities that increased dramatically from $63 million to $317 million in 6 years. It is important to note that borrowers with member business loans, and here's key, this is key for you to remember. It is important to note that borrowers with members' business loans were not notified by Whitefish Credit Union that they would not be loaning any more money on development loans, including existing loans. Please remember that statement right there, because it's going to tie into the Manley deposition that I'm going to be showing you here in a minute. This is what Carver, and again, Carver is the, matter of fact, I have Carver's resume here, and I can show you the original report from Carver. Give me a moment. So there is Alan Carver. If you're just kind of catching up to this, I'm reading the conclusion of this gentleman here, Alan Carver. He's a retired he has 34-year career with the National Credit Union Administration. He was a regional director in Atlanta and Chicago. He was on a task force, the NCU's task force. I mean, the guy knows his stuff. He's an expert witness. His testimony is not impeachable. He's, again, an expert witness right here. Expert witness, over and over again. He's an expert witness. There's no doubt about it. This is what we're reading from. We're reading from Alan Carver, his conclusion, his concluding report. So let's get back to that here. Can I get over here to this? Let's see. Let me bring it back up. In summary, it is my professional opinion, based on my 48 years in the credit union industry, 33 years as a regulator and 15 years as a consultant, that Whitefish Credit Union clearly committed and violated not only a verbal agreement to finance the entire Thornton project to a total of approximately $7 million, but also committed a breach of written contract involving the loaning of $500,000 in subordination of their lien. No doubt their handling of this issue created unnecessary financial hardship for impacted borrowers such as the Thorntons, their employees, and the inability of these borrowers to enjoy the profits that a full, complete development would have provided. This is the words of Alan Carver. These are not new. Okay, I've shown you that before. I wanted to give that as a foundation. After we look at we're going to also show the testimony of the attorney for National Credit Union Association. And I believe the count was done on the cases, and I think this attorney, Carnaday, I think is his name, had 3,100 cases of over 3,000 cases, from what I remember, over 3,000 cases of successfully prosecuting credit unions. So this guy is again another expert. The evidence that we're bringing you here, folks, this isn't from someone that's just got an opinion that we ran into at the diner, who's told us this is, some of these people that we do run into, regular folks, tell their story and tell me their personal narrative, and that's authentic, certainly. But I'm talking about the stuff the legal stuff, the legal expert stuff. These are things that can't be denied. And again, why would Dennis Thornton file with the IRS that his property was stolen, and the IRS didn't disagree? It didn't throw him in jail for falsifying IRS documentation. And there's no intention to. Wait till you get to some of the letters I'm going to be bringing up here. Some of the stuff I'm going to be highlighting. Okay, so let me show you here. This guy right here. This is Judge James Manley. He was an attorney before he got elected to the bench. He was very familiar with the Thornton case and the Sherman case, and this is him right here. He is a 20th District Court judge in Montana. He was appointed by Bullock. He was retained by voters in 2014. Now, anything here is the stuff that Judge Manley and I, the Honorable Judge Manley and I, spoke about on the phone is nothing that even has to be relayed here on this broadcast. All we have to do is go to his deposition, which is what we're going to do now, and check out Judge Manley's deposition. I already have it queued up here to the Thornton case. So let me expand this a little bit here. Yeah, bear with me, folks. I don't have a producer or anything. It's just me doing this. So I do appreciate your patience. Here we go. Let's bring up these docs. So this is the deposition of James Manley, and this was Deanna McAtee's case. Deanna McAtee. Oh boy, wait till we dig into the Deanna McAtee case. It's like something you'd have to almost buy tickets at the Cinemax theater up there and buy popcorn to watch this thing. I mean, it is unbelievable what happened to this woman. I'm talking like all the way down to like international arrest warrants and everything. And there's some very bad actors in that play, I can assure you. And that is shocking, to be honest with you, what happened to her and others. But her case is particularly shocking, and we're going to be digging into that as well. We've just begun. Folks, we've just begun to dig into everything that's been going on here concerning Whitefish Credit Union and its members for many years now. No one in any other press here in Montana and Flathead Valley is going to cover this. Do you know why? Because Whitefish Credit Union advertises with all of them. That's why. They advertise with the press. They pay them money to say nice things about them and run their ads. I mean, no, they're not going to report this. Who else is going to besides Montana Daily Gazette? No one. No one. even after we published this article with irrefutable proof. I mean, the FBI agent, as I stated, investigative special agent who did the investigation in Chicago on the judges, reviewed the documentation that I had and said it's solid. Why aren't these people being indicted? That was, I think, almost his exact words. Good question. That's a good question. Okay, let's go to the docs here. And some of the stuff that's said here previously doesn't really matter. We're just going to get to the case here with Dennis Thornton and talk about that a little bit. And I'm going to go through and I just typed in Thornton in the search. So we're going to discuss this as we go along. You know, I think I talked to him about the Thornton case. He's talking about Doug Johnson, who's another person of interest here that we're going to be looking into more. So here, this is about the discussion about the McAtee case, and we're going to get to that. Then you talked about, have you had unfavorable experience with Sean in another case? And that's Sean Frampton is who they're talking about. He's an attorney that's involved in this as well. And he says, yeah, he was on the Sherman and Thornton cases. He was the attorney. And the question to Manley is, what happened in those cases that caused you concern? And here's Manley's answer. You know, do we have a week? Well, in the Sherman case, I represented a farm family. I had been their family attorney on things for some time, and Russ and Joan Sherman had a farm down by Pablo. They had, I don't know, something like $1 million, and they had 2 projects they were developing in Ronan, or on the edge of Ronan, subdivisions, and both of them were pretty well planned. So Russ Sherman goes to Whitefish Credit Union, and he has this plan, this 3-stage plan on one or both, and works out a deal with them whereby, you know, because of their regulations or reasons, I don't really remember or understand at this point, I think they made short-term loans and were somewhat limited in what kinds of loans they can make. So they were making a lot of these construction development type loans. So they loaned him the money to do phase 1 and represented him to him, or certainly led him to believe that if he does everything according to the way phase 1 is planned, then he'll come back in a year or whatever, and then they'll roll that over into another loan, which would include money for phase 2, etc. And then when the whole thing is completed, he'd pay off all these loans, and he'd have done real well. And what happened in the interim was, in 2008 happened, and so this is one of the people that they said, well, we're foreclosing you. They sent him a foreclosure notice, and basically what they were saying and doing, they got rid of Doug Johnson and all these other people, and I think they were loan officers, new loan officers brought in, new guys, Kenyon and those guys, and they were foreclosing all these loans. They decided not to loan any more money. The trouble with not loaning any more money is that you're halfway through the development, like it is, and you can't pay off the loan, you can't sell it. So what was the situation that Shermans were in? So we went up there, and I thought we were in good faith going to discuss how to resolve this in a way that was fair to the Shermans. So we met with Frampton and number 2 and 3 guy there. Anyway, I don't remember his name. He's gone too. And so I was explaining this to them. I mean, it's obvious that what's the fair and right thing to do, right? You'd agree with me on that, right? I'm just trying to figure out what happened. I don't know. That's the question, the answer. I just wanted to see if you stammered. So they were talking to them, and I remember, I just can't remember which one. They were just sitting around, the 4 of us in a conference room, and either Frampton or the other guy from Whitefish Credit Union fell asleep. And I know I'm not the most interesting fellow, but I was a little surprised by that because I thought we were in good faith going to try to resolve this. What I came to conclude later is they were just going through the checklist. They had to do this with the customer before they foreclose or something. Anyway, so I thought we were trying to work something out, and there was correspondence, calls back and forth between me and Frampton, and then, I don't know this at the time, but without telling me, Frampton filed foreclosure against Sherman, against his property, and I believe also against his family ranch, which had been in the family for generations, a family farm. And they sent out a private process server and found Sherman during the harvest out in his tractor, came out into the field and served him. And I later learned he threw up on the dash of his tractor and continued with his 16-hour day and forgot about it. So let's move on here to the next instance of when Thornton's name comes up. He says, but one way or another, anyway, we were successful in stopping that from being foreclosed. And then that went into, it was litigated for a while, and eventually at mediation or thereafter it got settled. And it was essentially the same thing with Thornton. And this is another question. The same thing with Thornton. Was there a default involved in the Thornton case? or was there just a failure to fund another development? And here's what District Judge James Manley says. Yeah, it was like a 3-stage development. They had funded the first stage or whatever, and Thornton had done everything he was supposed to do. And then 2008 happened, that Whitefish Credit Union changed their policy, decided we're not loaning any more construction money, and they were going to handle these foreclosures. And so he had the development that was half finished that was unsaleable. In fact, it was really kind of a problem, because now, how was it left up there half finished? There was a big place up there at the top of this mountain. The rock wall had been built, and it turned out to be gathering water, and because of that, it blew some rocks out of the bottom. So this is what he's saying. Same thing Manley is saying. He's saying the same thing had happened. They had a 3-stage development that funded the first stage, done everything he was supposed to do. Thornton had done everything he was supposed to do. And then what happened? As we see from earlier documentation, from the Carver report, let's go back here. They decided to stop. Actually, I think I closed that report. They decided to stop loaning money. They decided to stop loaning money to their borrowers, except they just didn't let their borrowers know that. That was the problem. Let's go back to this report. It's important to note that borrowers with member business loans were not notified by Whitefish Credit Union that they would not be loaning any more money on development loans, including existing loans. Now think about it, folks. If you're trying to do a development loan and you didn't know that they're not going to fund phase 2 and phase 3, they know this. They know they're not going to fund phase 2 and 3, or however many phases you have, right? But they don't let you know that they're not funding. Do you think you would still get a loan at the Whitefish Credit Union, knowing if you were trying to put a development together, if you knew in advance that they weren't going to loan you all the money that you needed to finish that development? Do you think you'd still borrow the money from them? Likely not. Likely not. But Whitefish Credit Union, pardon me, as stated by Carver here, excuse me, it is important to note that borrowers with member business loans were not notified by Whitefish Credit Union they would not be loaning any more money on development loans, including existing loans. They didn't even let them know. Didn't let them know. Do you think that's proper practice to not let them know? No, of course it's not. Of course it's not. I think the NCUA should have a resource team inside Whitefish Credit Union and take it over and do some auditing. And then they can find both of those set of books, I believe, that we're discovering that they have. The amount of evidence that's coming into us, folks, this is I've got multiple people reviewing this evidence that I have that are investigative people. Not police investigators necessarily, but some darn good internet investigators, and everybody's come back to the same conclusion. And we'll be talking about that at another time as we continue to go further down this rabbit hole and break away the layers of criminality that's going on here. So let's get back to the documents. Thornton had done everything he was supposed to do. There you go. That's from Judge Manley. And I think that may be the last of the Thornton. Yeah, it is. So I want to show you that according to Judge Manley, District Judge Manley, and we had his picture up here just a minute ago. District Judge Manley, this gentleman right here. And here's his ballotpedia, James Manley. He is a district court judge. Now, he is not, this is stuff that's been public record. This is a public deposition. And the problem is no one ever looks into these things. No one ever looks into these depositions in these cases, right? None of the media around here ever looks into it. These people have a lot of hubris. They don't even do a good job at covering their tracks. They really don't. They really don't. They really do not do a very good job of covering their tracks. Right? They hide behind legal maneuvers and court decisions that always seem to go in their favor. right? Why wouldn't the court let the Carver report be unsealed for this for Dennis Thornton's case? Why wouldn't they let that happen? Well, you know why? Because I just read it to you what it says. It says clearly in the Carver report that Dennis Thornton was they were guilty of a breach of contract, at least verbal, but a breach of written contract for at least $500,000. Think about that. If you cheated somebody or breached a contract for $500,000, you'd be in some big trouble. If you did what they did, what Whitefish Credit Union did, and they falsified a document that we're going to be bringing up in another show here soon, they falsified a document to the U.S. Bankruptcy Court under penalty of 5 years in prison or $500,000 fine for perjury. We have the side-by-side proof to show you that they falsified that document that they sent to the court, to the bankruptcy court. If you did it or I did it, we would be spending 5 years in prison for falsifying documents, as would Dennis Thornton if he falsified tax returns to the IRS, and if he's filed a false report of stolen property to the FBI. Let that sink in for a second, folks, before you trample over Dennis Thornton like some people were doing in social media, going, oh man, this is just, you guys are just out for Whitefish Credit. No, we're not out for Whitefish Credit Union. Who cares? I'm not even a member of Whitefish Credit Union. I don't really care what credit union it is. Doesn't matter what name it is. Doesn't matter where it's located. Doesn't matter who runs it. Doesn't matter if they're doing criminal stuff. I'm going to report on it. Well, they're a pillar of the community. No, they're not. They're not. No, they look like an organized crime ring is what they look like to me. And there's a lot of people involved, not just bankers. So this is where we're at here, folks, in this town. This criminality has been allowed to run rampant for way too long, and no one's done a darn thing. There's a lot of people doing a lot of things now that will come to fruition soon. I'm going to take a quick commercial break here. We're going to give our sponsors, our advertisers, some love. Please check us out over at MontanaGazetteRadio.com, MontanaGazetteRadio.com, or MontanaDailyGazette.com. And, of course, sign up for the Montana Murder Hornet podcast by going to patreon.com/Gideon Knox. I'm your host, James White. We'll be back after these brief messages here on Montana Gazette Radio. If you like classic cars, exceptional service, and a money-back guarantee, then the Corner Shop in beautiful downtown Kalispell is the place for you. Whether it's an oil change, engine diagnostic, suspension work, or brakes all around, the Corner Shop has you covered. With expert technicians and a free consultation on all services, you can't go wrong with the Corner Shop. Did I mention the classic cars? While you're waiting for your expert service to be performed, take a stroll through the showroom to see Kalispell's smoothest collection of classic cars. The Corner Shop is conveniently located at 1212 South Main, just south of the courthouse. The Corner Shop is open Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. till 5 p.m., so drop by for an appointment or call 755-7777. That's 755-7777. The Corner Shop, Kalispell's full-service auto repair facility. Brought to you by PatriotPrepared.com, where right now you can save $250 on each large package purchase, plus get free shipping to the continental United States. In these troubled times, it's not a bad idea to have some extra food storage available, and you can save big at Patriot Prepared right now. Go to PatriotPrepared.com, that's PatriotPrepared.com, and use the code TRUMP250 at checkout to receive your savings today. Okay, folks, if you don't have storable food yet, wow, I don't know what to say, except that you should get some. You should get some as fast as you can. I know ship times are pretty good over there at our supplier. So you can go to PatriotPrepared.com, PatriotPrepared.com, and there's some nice savings on big packages. You should have several months of food storage available for you and your family, at least several months available, as much as you can afford to get. You should get And I'm not trying to be an alarmist here, but I forget about any of this other stuff that's going on. I mean, the drought that's going on here, the calamities going on worldwide. I think in South Africa, they're burning down pretty much all their food sources, a lot of it. They're burning up silos with grain, and they're burning fields down. And, these people are going to have to eventually eat. I mean, and this is the designed, folks. This is a designed, remember, order out of chaos. We talked about this in a little side note. People break away from the Whitefish Credit Union thing here for a moment. And you understand the methodology that they use is problem, reaction, solution, and order out of chaos. This is the framework that everything that they do operates under. Okay? They want to create the chaos, and then they're going to come in with the answer to that chaos. Okay? Problem, reaction, solution. This is the Hegelian dialectic. This is a long practiced method of capturing a society with a fear-based false flag. Who knows? Who knows what they're capable of? I mean, we don't have to go into all the details about 9/11 and all that stuff that happened, but I think there's still plenty of answers about 9/11 that haven't been answered yet, right? I mean, some of that stuff I've interviewed Richard Gage several times on the program here, and he's he's an architect, and he's a professional guy, and he's head of a professional organization of architects. So not going down that rabbit hole, but I mean, there's a lot more questions than answers about things, folks. Right? If you haven't figured out right now that there's a depopulation agenda that is underway currently as we speak, I guess I would suggest you take a little bit more time reading and less time texting and start realizing what's going on. But my point being is, if you haven't got this adequate supply of storable food for you and your family, right now is the time to do that. PatriotPrepared.com. PatriotPrepared.com for all your storable food needs and other things as well. Okay, we're going to talk a little court stuff here with the case, particularly the Mr. Dennis Thornton case in Thorco Incorporated that we've covered here quite a bit. And there's others. This is just the first of many that we're going to be digging into here. But this one is a big one because the property now, I think, is valued, I think, well over $100 million now. The property is in a pristine location in a city called Summers, which is right really on the shores, basically, of the north side of the Flathead Lake. And the property is, it's top shelf stuff, right? It's $1 million views type thing. And that's what they have done, is they've maneuvered themselves into a position to really take that from Dennis Thornton, is what it looks like to me, and his company. And it looks like to me and many others. So let's look here at the thing that should stop it all. The thing that the court decision here that I'm about to show you that should have ended everything but didn't. Right? They just disregarded it. Got disregarded. But here is the dismissal. The order of dismissal with prejudice. This is the Whitefish Credit Union versus Thorco Incorporated, a Montana corporation. Judge Robert B. Allison. Order of dismissal with prejudice. Now, everything before here, understand, this is a whole docket of cases. So I want you to understand everything preceding this particular court document, this ruling right here. Everything I'm about to go up and show you above this, which would be considered before this, none of this matters anymore after this particular judgment right here. When something is dismissed with prejudice like this is, it's wiped clean, it's washed, it's dismissed, and it can't be brought up again. Any repercussions because of it, any marks on your credit, any claims of any money owed to you by anybody tied to this particular case, all goes away at that point when it's dismissed with prejudice. This isn't a document that I created out of whole cloth here, folks. You can see this document. It's coming it's certified right from the clerk of the district court, Honorable Robert B. Allison. Okay? This is a real document. This is a real ruling. Order of dismissal with prejudice. If that's the case, why doesn't Whitefish Credit Union file that down the proper channels and let people know that this is dismissed with prejudice? But if you go out there and look for Dennis Thornton, any bank that brings it up, they find this is still on there. He owes money for this property that's been dismissed with prejudice. Again, put yourself in this position, folks. The judge comes out and dismisses it with prejudice, meaning all this other stuff I'm going to show you here, all these other court cases, everything preceding this, all the claims, all the lawsuits that were filed, any claims of foreclosure, any of this stuff here, all of these cases right here that you see, okay? Dismissed with prejudice. Here's another one, and here's the official seal. The official seal. Dismissed with prejudice. All these other claims made against Dennis Thornton and his property, all these other claims that I'm scrolling through here, that all preceded the dismissal with prejudice, are all vacant or vacated. None of them matter anymore. All of this is meaningless. It's all been adjudicated. All of it. All the claims against Mr. Thornton, Dennis Thornton, all the claims for his foreclosure, judgment of foreclosure and order of sale. That's the very first entry. Judgment of foreclosure and order of sale. So the judgment of foreclosure and order of sale against Dennis Thornton, when you go down again, all the way down, this is a succession, one after another, of court cases that went through over and over again regarding this property. And you go down to towards the bottom, and what does it say? We just talked about it a little earlier. Here's the order of vacating it. Again, this is just a representation of the stuff that was dismissed with prejudice. Dismissed with prejudice. Now, any of you out there that have an attorney or lawyer background, attorney, can understand what this means. Dismissed with prejudice means order of dismissal with prejudice. All this other stuff about the foreclosure on his property and all this stuff, all gone. But they don't see it that way, sadly, for Mr. Thornton. So let's talk about, if we can, John Cannerday. John Cannerday, here is his resume. John Cannerday is the counsel over at Allen Carver and Associates. And to recap once again, Allen Carver, 34 years, member of the National Credit Union Association, on the regional. He's a regional director, and had 48 years in the credit union industry, including his private practice. It's his report, the Carver report, that I read previously, that once again stated that Dennis Thornton was they were guilty of, a Whitefish Credit Union was guilty of breaching of contract, written contract, and verbal contract to $7 million, but written contract with Dennis Thornton. Same guy, Allen Carver. This is his attorney. He's a counsel there. He was the National Credit Union Administration Office of General Counsel. He was a senior trial attorney for the Division of Enforcement and Litigation. I believe is there from 1990 to 2015. Again, I think they counted up one of the other people that were victimized by Whitefish Credit Union and counted up his judgments, and I believe it was over 3,000 successful cases that he's adjudicated and against credit union crimes by credit union. Also, he's the Office of Inspector General for the Small Business Administration, U.S. Army JAG officer, Judge Advocate General. This guy is got a JD from Alabama, Arkansas School of Law. No lightweight. This guy is a bona fide. There's just bona fides right there. This guy is another court expert. So what happened is they sent out a questionnaire to Mr. Candidate, and the Thorntons did, and asked him to invited him to answer these questions that were sent, and he did. So we're going to review these questions, and I want to let you know we're not starting somewhere halfway down the document here. It's his stuff. This is, I'll show you the top, Carver & Associates, Allen, and this is coming back from Allen Carver & Associates. So you know this is legitimate, and we're going to find the answers and the questions and answers given to this attorney here, candidate. And this just has some legal stuff here. Okay. So here's one of the questions. Is the judgment terminated forever? This is one of the questions that was sent to Mr. Candidate, and he answered. I don't have access to legal research tools that allow me to research Montana case law. I can only find the term vacate defined in Montana statutes that refer to landlord-tenant law and are of no relevance to this question. That said, as a general rule in civil procedure law, the term vacate means to cancel or rescind, to make void or of no effect. Collins Dictionary of Law, therefore, the court's order to vacate the judgment of foreclosure and order of sale means the judgment in favor of WCU is completely and forever canceled, rescinded, and void and of no effect. Again. Therefore, the court's order to vacate the judgment of foreclosure and order of sale means the judgment in favor of Whitefish Credit Union is completely and forever canceled, rescinded, void, and of no effect. Now here's the question. Another question. Can Whitefish Credit Union now claim they have a judgment for $4,348,000? The loan granted to Whitefish Credit Union to Thorco by Whitefish Credit Union to Thorco in March of 2009 was in the amount of $3,360,000. The sum of $4,384,880 represented the original loan balance plus accrued interest. In my opinion, Whitefish Credit Union cannot properly claim to have a judgment against Thorco for $4,348,880. That opinion is based on the vacation of judgment of foreclosure and order of sale, as discussed above, meaning they can't claim that they have a judgment against Thorco because it's been vacated, it's forever canceled, rescinded, void, and of no effect. And again, don't believe me. This is the chief attorney, or the chief legal counsel for the National Credit Union Association. Does the settlement reach and satisfy the mortgage or judgment? On August 22nd, 2016, all parties filed a joint motion, stipulation to dismiss with prejudice. It states the following. Come now, the parties, Whitefish Credit Union, Thorco, Dennis Thornton, Donna Thornton, who, upon grant of the parties' joint motion, that the court's February 23, 2016 judgment of foreclosure and order of sale be vacated, stipulate to dismiss with prejudice and their respective claims, which have now been settled. On August 24, 2016, the Honorable Robert B. Allison issued the order that states the following. It is hereby ordered that the claims between the Whitefish Credit Union, Thorco, Dennis Thornton, Donna Thornton are hereby dismissed with prejudice, each party to bear its own costs and attorney fees. Is the judgment terminated forever is the question. The court's order of August 16th ordered the dismissal with prejudice of all claims and counterclaims in the case. In civil procedure, when a court dismisses a case with prejudice, it means that the court intends for that dismissal to be final in all courts and that res judica should bar that claim from being reasserted in another court. Cornell School of Law Legal Information Institute. Thus, the order of August 24, 2016 that dismissed with prejudice all of the claims in the lawsuit, including the judgment of foreclosure and order of sale, means that judgment is terminated forever. Can Whitefish Credit Union now claim they have a judgment? Answer to 3B is above and is equally applicable here. They can't do it, folks. Do you understand? Dismissed with prejudice. All of these foreclosure, and this was all vacated. It was all done. It's all done. But they did not honor that. They failed to. They failed even to file it with the IRS. And we're going to get to the IRS here in a moment. This is from Andrew Johnson, who is Andrew, and we'll see. I don't know if he's got any of his credentials up here. Andrew Johnson is a CPA, certified public accountant. He's licensed. He has a licensure to lose. He can't put together false reports, file false data, he may be able to go to prison for all I know. I mean, you certainly should if you're filing false claims against people. But Andrew Johnson is a certified public accountant with a licensure to lose. And again, just like we say, would Dennis Thornton file a case with the IRS about stolen property falsely? Would he file a case with the FBI about his property being stolen falsely? Would Andrew Johnson, the CPA, throw away his whole career to stand behind things that were not true and a lie? Maybe he would. Come on. Not likely. With the totality of all the other evidence. All right. Let's look at Andrew Johnson. Andrew. This is from Dennis, right, to Andrew. The U.S. Attorney has authorized FBI Special Agent Jason Grende to investigate the theft of Thorco's property. Jason has been investigating the theft of Thorco's property for several months. Special Agent IRS CI David Steinel has been assigned to the case from Missoula, Montana. David needs a release of Thorco's tax returns and a release to speak with you. I look up the release forms, yada, yada, yada. There's the case number. Now, this is from David Steinel, the guy that we talked about before, Steintel. Hi, Dennis. Thank you for following up. I am scheduled to be on leave next week. Now, this is an FBI agent here. This is or IRS agent, I believe. IRS agent. Thank you for following up. I'm scheduled to be on leave next week, and I'm scheduled to be on leave the week after. Since I have some use for home leave, however, I'm going to go through the documents and information that Jason forwarded me, my other case requirements. I'm aware there's a complex set of facts involved with this matter. As I've whittled through the current documents to understand them, do you have a summary of facts I should focus on and outline the impact of the IRS and how the IRS lost money? Whitefish, who's overseeing Whitefish Credit Union? Go to the regulatory agency. Thank you, Special Agent David Steintel from Missoula, Montana. This is from, again, Andrew Johnson, CPA, who has a lot to lose if he's pulling a scam. Remember, there's now members pulling scams. There's only one person or one entity pulling scams here, folks, and that's Whitefish Credit Union. None of these members are trying to game the system, trying to give. You tell me a dozen people who've worked their whole entire lives to build whatever that they have, and some of it's millions of dollars, and have successfully, in some cases, completed loan after loan after loan successfully, even admitted to by Whitefish Credit Union. You tell me a dozen of those people, and that or more, but at least a dozen people that we know of, all decide to flip Whitefish Credit Union the bird at the same time and ruin their entire life, everything they've worked for and saved for and everything. Do you really think they would do that, folks? Think about it. Again, use your noggin. Just like Dennis Thornton wouldn't file a false report with the IRS. Andrew Johnson, CPA. I've gone through the material provided, and I have also been in contact with the IRS about the transcripts on your account. There is no Form 1099 COD, cancellation of debt. Not a surprise. We did not expect one. So this is a verification from Andrew Johnson, CPA, that he's gone through the material. He's also been in contact with the IRS about transcripts on your account. Understand the type of criminal exposure that Dennis Thornton is opening himself up to. Involving a CPA, involving the IRS, involving the FBI, all to try to trick Whitefish Credit Union or somehow scam them, or because he didn't want to pay his bill? What are you, joking? I mean, you really have to suspend reality to think that is what happened in this case. Especially when I bring you the other cases that I'm going to be bringing you as well. I mean, the evidence of criminality and fraud is overwhelming. And you say, Jim, come on, man. I can't believe you're the only one that recognized this. How come no other? That's another thing I hear. It's what a joke. What a joke. That's some of the comments on the post. Well, we have a hard time believing there's no other news agencies reporting on this except for Montana Daily Gazette. Probably fake news. Oh, yeah, really? Really? Again. Do you think that the Daily Inner Joke and the other, what's the other one here? Can't remember it now. Maury Povich is rag. Do you think these people are going to go against Whitefish Credit Union, who advertises with them, who sponsors events with them, and they're a pillar of the community? You can't go against Whitefish Credit Union. Why? You can't call crooks crooks? You can't bring up evidence that they're criminal? And again, next show or the following show, I'll show you the document where they falsified a report to the bankruptcy court, the federal bankruptcy court. It says it right on the document. If you commit perjury on this report, if you falsify this document, I forget the exact terms. Anyway, 5 years in prison and a $500,000 fine, I believe. If you falsify this document. Oh, it's falsified, all right. It's falsified, all right. No doubt. I'll show you the absolute proof on side-by-side documentation that it was falsified. How come those people aren't being perp walked down into a waiting police cruiser? Because if I would file false documentation, the bankruptcy court or the FBI or IRS, would you try? Folks, forget if you like me or like my show or my hair, or you don't like our political viewpoint, or who cares? Put all that aside for a moment if you can. Right? If you can, put all that aside just for one moment and think logically for one moment. Would you, the person listening to this and we listen to this video, would you falsify numerous documents, including documents to the FBI, the IRS, the Montana Department of Revenue? Would you falsify all those documents because you're trying to pull some sort of a scam and trick the feds and the IRS? I mean, would you do it? Would you do it? Of course you wouldn't do it. Who would? I mean, you want to talk about rain and fire down onto your head. There's not probably a worse thing you can do. No, Dennis Thornton did not falsify his FBI claim of stolen property. Dennis Thornton did not falsify his IRS, his tax returns, where he signed under penalty of perjury on his tax returns that Whitefish Credit Union stole his property. It was a theft. He recorded it as a theft. The IRS didn't throw him in jail for false reporting, nor did the Montana Department of Revenue. So for those of you out there on social media making comments about Dennis Thornton, these guys, sounds like they just didn't want to pay their mortgage to me. Sounds like they're just trying to game the system. Whitefish Credit Union's done everything proper. Well, they haven't. They joking? They kidding me? It's not even close. Again, We're just getting started with this information. Wait till we start having these victims on. I'm going to believe some of these stories. It's off the charts. Off the charts. We're going to put this information and more all on our website, all on Montana Gazette Radio or on Montana Daily Gazette. All these documents that we have here today, I'm going to make sure that they're linked. I don't know if they're all going to be able to fit. There's the upload requirements for the website, but I'll have them linked to like a cloud drive or something at worst. So you'll be able to see these documents and look at them for yourself. Right? I wouldn't even be reporting on this and spent 2 years investigating this and talked to as many people as I've talked to if I did not know that there's some serious shenanigans going on here, and these people have been robbed. They've been robbed. They've been robbed. And lastly, 2 weeks I've had this story out, published 2 weeks. They're well aware of this article because they met with some legislators last week after I published it. They're well aware of this article that I showed you a little earlier. When I say well aware, I mean Whitefish Credit Union are well aware of this article right here. Evidence shows largest Montana credit union stole $500 million in assets. How come Whitefish Credit Union hasn't sued me for slander or sent me a cease and desist order to stop broadcasting lies and defaming their corporation or whatever they want to say? How come they haven't done that? And one might arrive. I don't know. Hasn't arrived yet. Hasn't arrived yet. How come they haven't tried to do that? I can tell you why. Because it's true. That's why. That's why. You can't sue somebody and for slander when they're reporting truth. This would be a sad day if they tried this. It would be a sad day if they tried this because all of the stuff that was sealed before where people didn't even have a chance to have a trial. It was all just done by summary judgment. All that'll come out. All this whole puzzle piece of everything will all come together as it's coming together now. See, here's the thing. This is Dennis Thornton and the victims. This is their trial here. This is their chance to have their case heard in the court of public opinion because the crooked judicial system in Flathead County prevented them from having due process. So this is our attempt here at Montana Daily Gazette and Gazette Radio to give them due process. We're going to have them on here as witness testimony. We're going to produce the documentation that they have, the evidence they have. We're going to have expert witnesses on here. We've already spoken with judges. This is their chance to have their voice heard because it's been crushed up until now. Not just one, not just two. Many people, more than 10 have had their voices, their chance of due process crushed by the crooked system. It's time for it to come to an end. Please support this broadcast, folks. We need your help to stay on the air. You can go check us out over at the Montana Murder Hornet podcast. If you go to patreon.com/Gideon Knox, patreon.com/Gideon Knox, go and sign up for one of these membership levels, some cool stuff. And plus you're supporting truthful news, and you'll get the podcast from J.D. Hall and I. We're going to be starting that broadcast here. I think our first show is going to be, we're going to do our first recording this weekend. So I got to work on some opening and get that stuff straightened out. But appreciate you looking in. As I said, we're going to have this. I'm going to follow up with this article. I'm going to follow up with an article on Montana Daily Gazette regarding this broadcast here today. We do appreciate your support, and thanks so much. We need your prayers, need your support here at the broadcast. Till next time, James White for Montana Gazette Radio. Saying bye now.